Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is the 4th of August, and as you can see, I am still at my mum's. I will link my July vlog underneath if you want to see what we got up to then. But short version of the story, we went to France on a yoga retreat, and on the first day we were doing a mountain walk. Mum slipped and dislocated her ankle and broke her leg in 2 places. It was obviously horrific. She then spent the next 3 or 4 days in a French hospital. They did an operation to pin her ankle and her leg, and we flew home with her leg in a cast. And when I spoke to you at the end of that vlog, I said that we were going to the hospital because she had an appointment at the fracture clinic. Now, unfortunately, the pins that the French doctors have put in place, our doctors are saying are not in the right place. So they have to take those pins out. She will then have a cage on her ankle for however long it takes for the swelling to go down, and then she'll have to have a second operation to repin everything, and then she can start her healing. So we found that out on Friday, which has obviously been really stressful for her. I'm here by myself with her, trying to support and look after her, and we're going back to the hospital today for her pre-op tests and stuff, and then she's booked in for her first, well, technically her second operation tomorrow. So that's what's been going on. So there's not been much in the way of B-roll because there's not been much in the way of much happening. I've just been here looking after her and the dogs. The dogs are now with my aunt, which has made life much easier. But I have been reading. So I am 4 books in. Let's flip that the right way around. 4 books in to my 31 in 31 challenge. I'm not convinced I'm going to manage it this time just because there's so much else going on, but the last couple of days have been mostly just mum resting, so I have managed to get some reading done. So the first book that I finished was 18 by Alice Loxton. This is a non-fiction, and as it says on the front, a history of Britain in 18 young lives. And what Alice Loxton has done is taken 18 historical figures and looked at what their life was like at 18. And I found this really interesting, and you've got figures in there like Queen Elizabeth I. I need to look at the list, and I found it really interesting as I was reading it. Empress Matilda, Geoffrey Chaucer, Geoffrey Hudson, Horace Nelson, who else is in here? Jack Lewis, who is C.S. Lewis, who wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series, Rosalind Franklin, and also Vivienne Westwood, which is what I found really interesting because I didn't really know that much about her. So yeah, there are 17 people, then chapter 18 is a little bit different, looking at what it meant to be 18 in those different time periods. So I gave this, I've got my book down here with my ratings because I am extremely tired and I want to make sure I give you guys the right rating. I gave this 3.5 stars. This was interesting. I would read more from the author. She's got a really kind of accessible, easy to read style. I just found it a little bit repetitive in places, and yeah, I didn't kind of have any sort of emotional connection to it. So I gave it 3.5. I would definitely recommend it. I bought this in the Waterstones January sale, and it is a beautiful copy, hardback copy. And yeah, I'm glad I read it. So that was obviously my non-fiction prompt, which for my summer reading challenge is Abby and Abby of Pelennor. So this was my pick for her. Then I picked up A Stroke of the Pen by Terry Pratchett. This was gifted to me by the lovely Marianne, who also made me, I'm fairly sure she made this beautiful postcard. Look how cute that is. She sent this to me. I think she had duplicate copies, or she was getting rid of her copy. I can't remember, but she very kindly sent it my way. This was my pick for Cozy Pick, which is Ali's pick, Ali's prompt, and this was so cozy. This is just a collection of short stories that were found after Terry Pratchett passed away, and they've bound them up together into this collection, and they are exactly what you'd expect. They are funny, they are political, they are thought-provoking, they are cozy, and I just had a really wonderful time reading this collection. I gave it a 4-star, and it's made me want to read more. I have to admit, I haven't read that much Terry Pratchett. I've read the first 2 or 3 Discworld novels. I have read a few random ones further in, but I read them like 20 years ago. And it is making me want to pick up Discworld books, possibly as a project next year, but we'll see how we go. I don't want to promise anything. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, so thank you to Marianne for sending this to me. And also look how cozy, how cute and beautiful this cover is. They're also illustrated. It does have a foreword by an author we no longer support, but who worked very closely with Terry Pratchett, so that was kind of inevitable. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. Then I picked up for my literary fiction prompt, which is Aoife at Words of Clover. I picked up Notes on an Execution by Dania Kakafka. This is one that Chloe sent me. She unhauled it and sent it to me. And this is a literary fiction. So we're following a man who is on death row, and it's the day before his execution and the day of his execution. So we're following him as he goes through that process, but we're also following in flashback the lives of 3 women who are connected to him and the crimes that he committed. I thought the structure was really interesting. I gave this 3 stars. I really liked the beginning and I liked the end, but I got quite bored in the middle, and I was texting Chloe as I was reading it, and I was like, being totally honest, if I wasn't doing a 31 and 31, I'd have DNF'd it, but I didn't have another literary fiction to put into its place, so I just pushed through and finished it. Would I read more from the author? I wouldn't be in a rush, but it does have some interesting things to say about morality, where our morals come from, nature versus nurture, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I am glad I got to read it because it's one I've been interested in for ages, but turns out it just wasn't really for me. So that was a 3-star read. And then yesterday, for my translated book, which is Aoife at Pretty Purple Polka Dots, I picked up Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Again, Chloe sent me this. I think she sent me this for Christmas. And I was scared to pick this up because I read, what's the other one? I read the author's other book, which now the name of which is completely left me. And that's one of the weirdest things I've ever read. This was a lot more normal. And this follows a woman who literally works in a convenience store. And I liked what this had to say. I gave this 4 stars, and I really liked what it had to say about being different. It's never said directly, but the main character reads as autistic, or certainly neurodiverse. And the way that she sees the world and interacts with other people was very different to others. And I just enjoyed following her along. It's quite a quiet book. It's quite a, it's not a lot happens in this. It's very short. It's less than 200 pages. Is it less than 200 pages or just over? No, it's 160 something pages. It's a very quiet book, but it's one that I'm glad I read, and yeah, I gave it 4 stars. So that is what I have read so far. So we've already got a good little stack on the go. I'm currently reading something very different, which is The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This is my pick for Brie at 4 Paws, and a book which is fantasy or romantasy. This is a romantasy. And yeah, we're going to see how today goes. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen at this appointment for Mum. I've also got my own appointment this afternoon, which is a phone appointment with my osteo team to get the results of the MRI that I had done on my neck last month. So we'll see how that goes. And the boys are coming down today. I haven't seen Gary in 10 days. I cannot wait to see him. I obviously haven't seen Charlie as well for a couple of weeks now, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him. But I'm desperate for a cuddle from my husband. Quite a lot has happened in the 10 days since I've last seen him. So they're coming down as well because it's our family week this week and we're staying at my aunt's house. And yeah, we're just going to have to see what happens today with Mum, because that will kind of dictate the rest of the week and how that unfolds. So yeah, that's the update for now. Let's get going to the hospital. It's the 8th of August. This is the first time I'm speaking today, as you can probably hear from my voice. And I've got a very cuddly Billy cat on my lap because we have become best buds, haven't we? She's like, yes. When I watched back my July vlog, said I was not going to do any more wet hair updates because it looks awful. However, there are just not enough hours in the day today. So you have got me just at the shower. Say hello, Billy. So yes, it's the 8th. So it's Friday and I am getting ready to go home, which feels very weird after 16 days looking after my mum, or being with my mum. Most of those spent looking after her. This week has been better. She had her second operation on her leg on Monday, which they were actually able to do more than they thought they'd be able to do. They didn't have to put a cage on her leg, which is a massive win, because the idea of trying to keep that clean and safe and all that sort of stuff was quite worrying. So she's back in a cast, which is a lot more manageable. We're not sure yet if she'll need a third operation on her leg. We've got to wait a couple of weeks for the swelling and stuff to go down from this one. Honestly, this cat is hello, hi, you are so affectionate, aren't you? She's been a very good substitute fur baby whilst I've been here. Yeah, so we're not sure if she'll need another operation or not. She will definitely be having weeks and weeks of physio and all that sort of stuff, because it was a very complicated injury. It wasn't just like any broken limb obviously is a terrible trauma, but it's not just 6 weeks in a cast and then off you go. It's going to be quite a long process, I think. But she has made the next step, no pun intended, because she actually can't step anywhere at the moment, in that process. And yeah, so she came home on Tuesday. I'm losing track of the days. I think she came home Tuesday. And then yeah, she's now resting at home, and obviously I've been helping look after her. My aunt's been helping as well. I was able to have a little bit of a pool day on the day that she went into hospital, because obviously I couldn't stay with her. She was in a closed, what they call short stay surgical ward, something like that. And I couldn't stay because they try and keep, honestly my hair is so wet. They try and keep the number of people on that ward to a minimum because it's very busy. So I couldn't stay with her that day, which felt very weird. So I was able to have somewhat of a pool day. I mean, I did go in the pool and I did read and stuff, but I spent most of the time checking my phone for updates and waiting. And then yesterday we went to Thorpe Park because the boys, it was one thing that Charlie asked to do whilst we were here was to go to Thorpe Park. So I set my mum up in the morning with meds and snacks and water and all that sort of stuff. Then my aunt came in at lunchtime, then I was back in the evening. And we had a really good day at Thorpe Park. I don't do rides. I have never done rides. I can't do rides with my head and neck issues that I'm dealing with at the moment. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching the boys have a great time, and I read and I sat in the sun and I ate a donut the size of my head, and it was just a lovely day, and it was nice to have a more like normal family day. So that was really good. And then today we're going home. My brother's coming to look after my mum for a few days. I'm going home, which I'm very excited about. I can't wait to see the cats and be in my own bed. And Chloe is coming today. So Chloe's coming down for the weekend and I cannot wait to see her. I'm really excited to show her the house. She hasn't met Sav yet. She's never been to Bath. We're going into Bath tomorrow. Obviously I would do as much B-roll of that as I can. So yeah, it should be a really good weekend. And then Gary and I are off on our holiday on Monday. So lots of nice things to come. I have had the results of my MRI, and it's nothing drastic, but I'm not quite ready to talk about it yet. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to talk about it, but I have had the results and I'm now waiting for another specialist. So I'm moving from the osteo team to a different team because what's going on is actually not in my spine or my neck. It's actually in my head. That makes it sound really drastic. I should just say it. So what they found is that I have a malformation of my brain, which I was likely born with, which is called a Chiari malformation type 1. I hope I've said that right. And basically lots of people have it. About 1 in 1,000 babies are born with it. Lots of people have it and don't notice their entire life, but it can be triggered by a trauma to the head. And I had whooping cough last year, which counts as a trauma to the head because of how strong the cough is and repetitive. It's basically like a whiplash type injury. And it means that my brain is now pushing against the spinal cord and the spinal fluid, and that is the pain that I'm getting. So I've been handed over or referred to the neurosurgeon team for them to assess me and decide what, if anything, they are going to do. And we now just need to wait for that referral to come through. In the meantime, I keep going as I am, taking my meds, not lifting anything heavy, blah, 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 blah. No headstands, no roller coasters. And we just wait for the next bit. But yeah, it's obviously a bit scary because it's my brain. But we will just have to wait and see what the neurosurgeon team decide to do, if anything. They might not do anything. They might just keep me on medication to control the pain. I don't know yet. So yes, that is what's going on with that. And I have 4 books to talk to you about because I'm currently on track for this 31 and 31. Technically, I'm 200 pages ahead of where I need to be, which is good because I feel like Chloe and I will do some reading this weekend. Will we read a book a day? I'm not convinced because we will be talking and shopping and everything else and hanging out and enjoying being together. So I've deliberately tried to get as ahead as I can before this weekend. But I do have 4 books to talk to you about. So the first one that I finished was That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This was so fun. This is like cozy fantasy with a quest, but make it smutty. There is a content warning in the front, which says, please be aware, this book contains light BDSM, dubcon violence, mentions of sexual violence, no rape or sexual assault occur. It is mentioning conversation and sexually explicit content that could trigger certain audiences. We love when an author puts content warnings in the fronts of their books. We are following, what was her name? Was it Cinnamon? Yeah, Cinnamon, she works on a cinnamon. No, it is Cinnamon. She works on a spice farm, and she goes home from, I think it's a cheese festival or something at the start of the book, and she's drunk, and she bumps into a demon who is in distress, and she saves him without realizing who or what he is. And then he pops back up the next day, and they go on a quest basically to destroy a series of goblets. And that's kind of what I want to say. And it gets romantic from there, and it gets smutty. And this was really fun. I cannot now remember sat here what I gave it. I think I gave it 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. It might have been a 3.5, but my StoryGraph is always linked underneath. I absolutely flew through this. It's part of a series. It's book 1 in the series, and it very helpfully tells you it's book 1 right there. This is a very battered copy that I got in a second-hand shop when I went to the Cotswolds, but I very much want to read the rest of this series. So yeah, that was just, it was fun. It was well written. There was some more serious topics woven in. Obviously, like I said, there's kind of discussion of sexual assault, that sort of stuff. It was a fun time. So there was that one. Then I picked up and read Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. I enjoyed this a lot more than I was expecting to, because my only other Ava Reid is The Wolf and the Woodsman, which I DNF'd. However, my boss, because we teach Macbeth at work, my boss has been banging on about this book all year, or since last year. I got this cheap in the Waterstones January sale, so I was like, fine, I'll read it. And this, as you can probably tell, is a retelling of Macbeth from the perspective of Lady Macbeth. And there are some changes. There are definitely some fantasy elements to this that I wasn't really expecting, but I really liked how this was written. It was really interesting. It was beautifully written. It's a perspective we don't get in the play. It doesn't even have a name in the play. She's just Lady Macbeth, because her worth is tied inherently to her husband, because patriarchy. But yeah, I really liked how this took the original story and wove in these extra elements and just breathed different life into this character. I think I gave this a 3.5. Again, I'm forgetting what ratings I've given things. I should have bought my green book downstairs. But again, it's linked below. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to, and we love that. Then the following day, I read over 600 pages in a day, and I can't lie, I'm pretty impressed with myself, even if it is a children's classic. And that was the Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales, obviously by Hans Christian Andersen, this gorgeous edition that I got from Melena's bookshop, which I will link underneath. And this is the Wordsworth, is it collector's edition? Yeah, Wordsworth collector's edition. I've got a few books now. I've got quite a collection of these on my shelves. They're just so beautiful. And this is exactly what you'd expect. This is his fairy tales gathered together. And things like The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, The Little Match Girl, what else? Loads of them, obviously. I'm trying to think of other ones that are like famous. The Emperor's New Clothes. Some of them are a couple of pages long, some of them are like 50 pages long, and I really enjoyed reading this collection. So, lots of them I'd read before, but there are a few in here that I hadn't read before, so I enjoyed those. And I gave this a 3.5 star. I think these are definitely worth reading. There are obviously some much darker themes in some of these fairy tales, because fairy tales are inherently dark, but I really enjoyed my time with this collection, and I absolutely flew through it. I was reading like 100 pages in like half an hour, so I absolutely flew through. So yeah, that was a 3.5. And then yesterday I started this in the morning and then finished it when I got home. I read The History of Sound by Ben Shattuck. This is one that I borrowed from my brother. I should have said which prompts these were for. So this one was for fantasy or romantasy, which is the Brie from Four Paws book and a book prompt. This one was retelling, because it's retelling of Macbeth, which was Brittany's prompt. And this was classic, which was Claire from Claire Fenby. And then this one was my prompt for Charlie at Charlie Brooke Reads, which was borrowed book, because Charlie works in the library. And I borrowed this from my brother. And this is a collection of interwoven short stories, and I've never read anything by the author before. And this is very literary. Some of it was quite dense, but I did really enjoy it. I liked the structure. I liked how things wove together. I liked the connections that you see. And it's just very kind of thoughtful, historical, queer short stories, and I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, would I read more from the author? I wouldn't rush to read more from the author, because like I said, it was quite dense, but I did enjoy this and this particular reading experience. So yeah, that was a 4 star. So that is the update. I need to go and collect up all my stuff, pack my car, which will be packed to the absolute hilt, because I've been here, like I said, over 2 weeks. And then I'm going to drive home via Tesco to get some supplies, because there's literally nothing in our house. And then I'm going to go home, see my fur babies, tidy the hell out of my house, and get ready for Chloe. It's the 11th of August and I had such a nice weekend with Chloe and obviously the husband. So I last spoke to you when I was at my mum's, so I left mum. It was really hard to leave her, obviously, after everything that happened over the last couple of weeks. But anyway, left her, got home with a pit stop to Tesco. That's not interesting, I don't know why I told you that. And was very relieved and happy to be home in my house with my husband and my cats and all my stuff. Then Gary and I spent couple of hours that day just getting unpacked and sorted and cleaning the house from top to bottom because obviously Chloe was coming. Chloe arrived in the evening. We got a Chinese takeaway and just spent the evening just chatting and catching up. Did a tiny bit of reading, but not really. And then Saturday we went into Bath and I showed her all of the Bath sites, by which I mean the bookshops. We had a lovely lunch at the Botanist and then we came home and lazed about in the garden for a few hours and read. We had picky bits for tea. And then yesterday morning we took her to the Lounge, which is one of our favourite places to go for breakfast, and had a really good breakfast. And then she went home and I got a few chores done, the usual Sunday chores. And then I've spent the rest of the Sunday just kind of napping and being in the hammock and relaxing. And I feel like I'm finally starting to relax into my summer holiday, which is obviously necessary. And today we're off to Gillingham, I'm not sure how you say it, in Dorset for our week, just me and Gary, and I'm so excited to go away. And I realise I've just come back and said I was so excited to be home, but like I feel like the two of us need some time alone to switch off and just be together and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so it's been a nice couple of days. Like I said, I feel like I'm finally starting to get into holiday mode. I have obviously been reading. I'm a tiny bit behind. I've read 10 books, which is fine because it's only the morning of the 11th and I will finish book 11 today. I'm about 50 pages behind where I need to be to finish the books I've chosen, but I feel like I can still catch that up. So I think I'm doing okay. But the books that I have finished since I last spoke to you are The Dare by Leslie Cara. This was for which prompt? Can't remember. Second-hand book, maybe? Because this came from my advent calendar. This was okay. I gave this 3 stars. I really enjoyed the beginning of this. I started reading this at Thorpe Park when we took the boys on Thursday of last week. And it was quite interesting. You're following 2 timelines. We're in present day with a woman called Lizzie, who is in a long-term relationship. She's engaged to be married. She's living with this guy. I can't remember what his name is now. Ross. And she is kind of having flashbacks to a trauma that happened when she was a teenager. And when she was a teenager, we follow this timeline as well, her best friend died on a train track and Lizzie was there when it happened, but she can't remember what happened because she's epileptic and she had a fit just before her friend died. And she's kind of lived with this trauma her whole life. And we follow these 2 timelines and weird things start to happen, like a little toy train appears on the front wall out the front of their house and all this sort of stuff. And it goes from there and it's a domestic thriller / drama. I really like the beginning of this, but I found Lizzie so annoying. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I have to like the character to like the book, and I just didn't like Lizzie. I didn't like any of the decisions she was making. She seemed really selfish and quite annoying, and so it just kind of spoiled it for me. The mystery was interesting. There was one twist I didn't see coming, which I appreciated. But overall, I feel like I won't remember this book probably by the end of the month. But it was 3-star. It was a fast read. It was entertaining. There was nothing inherently bad in it. It just didn't set my world alight. Then I read this beast, which is 502 pages. This is for the prompt historical fiction. So yeah, this was second-hand book, which is Charlotte at Books and Bargains, and then this is historical fiction, which is Charlotte at Coiny Reads. And this is The Raven's Head by Karen Maitland. I was given this by my boss. There was International Book Giving Day, I think was in February, and so my wonderful boss wrapped up a book for every single member of staff, a second-hand book, and this is the one that she picked for me. And she obviously complained about how difficult I am to buy a book for because I read a lot. And she managed to pick a book I'd never heard of, so she did well. This is historical fiction. We're in Norfolk in 1224, and there are several storylines going on, but it's about the pursuit for the Philosopher's Stone. And that's kind of all I'll say. And we're sort of in abbeys and monasteries, and it's about power and all of that sort of stuff. This was not as heavy as I was expecting it to be, or dense as I was expecting it to be. It was very readable. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's far too long. It's quite repetitive in places, and I was kind of like, can we get on with the actual story, please? Because it was kind of meandering around. However, I did enjoy the story. I did finish it, and it is a big book. Yeah, again, a bit like this one, I just don't have loads to say about either of these. To quote Aoife from Pretty Purple Book Polka Dots, it was a book and I read it, but it was a big book and I read it, so I'm quite pleased with myself with that. Then Chloe and I obviously went into Bath and we went book shopping. However, plot twist, we only bought 3 books between us. I will link her weekly vlog from this weekend underneath, so if you want to go and see that, you can if you haven't already. You should be following everybody I mentioned, by the way, because they're all wonderful. But we only bought 3 books between us, which was a bit of a plot twist. And I bought 2 of those, she only bought 1. And these are both from the secondhand shop. So the first one is The Truants by Kate Weinberg. I don't know anything about this, but Chloe recommended it to me. She thinks I'd like it. And I was like, okay, it's got an interesting cover. And on the back it just says, Jess Walker is drawn into a tightly knit group of rule breakers in her first year at university and begins to experiment with a new version of herself. But the dynamic between the friends and their maverick professor begins to darken as they share secrets, lovers, and finally a tragedy. Soon Jess is faced with the question she fears most. What is the true cost of an extraordinary life? So it sounds a little bit kind of dark academia-ish. It's not very long, and I was intrigued by the cover, so I picked that one up. And then I've also picked up The Children Act by Ian McEwan. I read On Cecil Beach by this author and really, really liked it. And I've been looking at some of his others, and I think, to be honest, this was the one that was the shortest. And so I picked it up. It does also sound interesting. So it says, Fiona May, a leading High Court judge, renowned for her fierce intelligence and sensitivity, is called on to try an urgent case. For religious reasons, a 17-year-old boy is refusing the medical treatment that could save his life. Time is running out. She visits the boy in hospital, an encounter which stirs long-buried feelings in her and powerful new emotions in the boy. But it is Fiona who must ultimately decide whether he lives or dies, and her judgment will have momentous consequences for them both. So again, it sounds really interesting. It is short, it's just over 200 pages, and I know I really like Ian McEwan's writing, so I thought I'd pick that up and give that a go. I've also been having a look at my TBR shelf. This is what's left of my TBR. My August books are downstairs, but this is what's left. And I only want books on there that I'm really excited to read. I don't want any books I'm kind of mid about. And so I've decided to unhaul 2 books unread. These are both books that I bought in charity shops, and they can just go back to the charity shops. I've read the first couple of pages of each, and I just wasn't feeling them. So I'm going to be unhauling The Memory of Midnight by Pamela Hartshorn, which I bought when I was, I think, with my sister-in-law a little while ago, possibly. And I'm also going to unhaul The Man Who Wasn't There by I'm not saying this right, by these authors here, which I got as part of a mystery date in a book when I went to see Steph again at a secondhand shop, and this copy is so battered. Just neither of these, I'm not feeling historical fiction right now, and I think this is like a Scandi kind of, yeah, on the side of a mountain in Sweden, 6 bodies have been found. I'm just not in the mood for kind of Scandi noir at the moment. So those 2 are both going out kind of unread, because I just want books that I'm like so excited to read on my shelves. And then finally I have had a parcel arrive. So apologies to whoever sent this, it's upside down, because it's been sat for about a week because I was away and then I wanted to film. Thank you so very much to whoever this is. As ever, you guys do not have to send me things, but I very much appreciate it when they do. So yeah, I thought we would sit and open this together and see. It's a very weird shape, so I'm confused by the shape of it. Oh, and that doesn't want to open. Let's try this side. There we go. Off in 2. So yeah, I'm very confused by the shape. Okay. Oh, there's a couple of things in here. It's Charlene, I can see. Charlene! So she said, thank you for your fab content. So sorry to hear about your mum and your health. I hope these bring some much needed reading distractions from Charlene. Thank you so much. That is really kind. And the same, that message is the same. So there's 2 things in here. Also, I just wanted to say thank you for all your lovely comments on my July vlog and all the well wishes for my mum. I have let her know to go and have a look at the comments on that video because they were really lovely. So thank you so much. Right, let's see what's in here. There's 2 books. There's 2 books. Charlene, what did you do? Right. Okay, so we've got Lost and Lassoon. So is this one? Yes, it is. So she sent me book 2 and book 3 in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. So we've got Swift and Saddle, which I think is the next one, and then Lost and Lassoon, which I'm really excited about because I'm already excited about the couple in this one. So these are cowboy romances. Thank you so much, Charlene. That was so kind of you. Great choice. They are going to be really good distractions. Let's put these in the right ones. So that one was that one. So yeah, thank you. That's great choice. I will very much enjoy reading these. I love the first one, as you'll have seen already. That was very sweet of you, thank you. And yeah, for now I need to quickly film the unhaul clip for July because I haven't done that yet because I've been at home. Then I need to tidy this up, pack, and then we're going to get on the road and go on an adventure. It's the 15th of August and we've had the nicest week. It has been very relaxing. As you saw from the B-roll, it was absolutely beautiful where we were staying. We just ate, slept, read, lay in the sun, rinse and repeat. It's been a lovely week. It's been exactly the week we both needed. I'm feeling still tired, but I might just be relaxed. I'm in that weird like space where I'm not sure if it's one or the other. But it's been a lovely week. We are now home. And I'm going to finish off this vlog because I always put August into two parts. I think at the moment we're up to, it's going to be about an hour long, this vlog, which is plenty long enough. And obviously only halfway through the month. So I'm going to stop the vlog in a minute once I've wrapped up these 6 books and opened another book. And then you'll see part 2 a week after this one goes up. So I've got my trusty notebook because I've been reading so much that I want to make sure that I get my ratings right and all that sort of thing. So the next book that I read was Funny Story, bookmark just fell out, Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is the first Emily Henry I read, and I've got the very cute sprayed edge edition that I picked up in the works when I went to see Chloe earlier this year. Like I said, this is my first Emily Henry, and I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars, I think. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. And we're following Daphne, who is due to be getting married, and then the opening part of this story, her fiance, is it Peter, comes to her and tells her that he's leaving her for his female best friend, and she needs to move out of the house that they've shared together, but that is technically his. So she moves in with Miles, who is the ex of Peter's new girlfriend, his female best friend. So she ends up living with Miles, and the two are very, very different. But they kind of decide to fake date, because a couple of months after this all happens, they receive an invitation to Peter and Petra, who is the girl best friend, Peter and Petra's wedding, and they decide that they're going to go, and they're going to go as a couple, and they're going to pretend to be dating. So it's fake dating, and obviously we all know where this is going to go. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. This was really quick to read. It was fun. It's got some deeper themes in it. Oh my god, what's her name? Daphne has got some stuff with her family dynamic that I really kind of aligned with. Miles is kind of, it is Miles, isn't it? Yeah, is kind of struggling with the direction that his life is taking, the way other people perceive him, and I just really liked how all of that was dealt with, that kind of uncertainty of being in your 30s and not having a sort of like late 20s, early 30s, and not having a solid plan of what you're going to do with your life. Daphne's also a librarian, and I love that the love of books came through so strongly in this. You can tell that Emily Henry is an author that loves books, and I love that. It's always really pleasing to see in books. And I loved their romance. I loved the way they communicate, the way they look after each other. There are a few spicy scenes. There was a 3rd act breakup, and that's why I didn't get the 5, I think, because that was just kind of annoying. I really thought we were going to avoid it, and then she put one in anyway. Could have done without that, but yeah, I did really enjoy it. One really small thing, and it is a small thing, it didn't affect the star rating, but in the book there's a lot of discussion about the fact that Miles has this like massive beard. Where is the beard? Whoever illustrated the front of this, where is it? Because that bugged me the whole way through. But again, that's probably just me. Yeah, 3 stars. I really enjoyed this. It's my first Emily Henry. If you have read Emily Henry books, tell me which one, and I really like this. Which one should I pick up next? Should I wait for the next release? Should I go back into a backlist? Please let me know, because yeah, that was a really fun time. And that was for Chloe's prompt, which is romance book. And then for Daniela's prompt, which was travel book, I picked up Cartas Postales from Greece by Victoria Hislop. This is big. This is over 500 pages, I think, or 430 pages. And this is my travel book because this is all about traveling to Greece. So we are following, what is her name? Ellie, who lives in a really dreary flat in London. Her life is kind of depressing. She's like temping. She doesn't like a job. Her flat's quite grim. It's winter in London, and she starts getting these beautiful, bright postcards from Greece. And they're just somebody who used to live in her flat, but obviously it's a postcard, so she can't help but read the messages. And these postcards keep coming. She ends up putting them up in her flat, so she's kind of got this wall of like beautiful Greek postcards. And she decides one day, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go to Greece. And she decides to go to Greece, and on the morning that she leaves, this parcel arrives, and she just shoves it into her bag, doesn't really look at it too closely, just shoves it in her bag on the way out, gets on the plane and goes to Greece. Then when she gets there, she opens the parcel, even though it's not addressed to her, but anyway, and inside it is this journal, and she starts reading the journal, and then we as the reader are reading the journal with her. So so we get this page, which is the start of the journal, and then the majority of the book is the journal, and what is inside the journal is a series of stories. So it's almost like a short story collection, but all interwoven and interlinked, as this mysterious A is travelling around Greece. And by the end of the journal, you're kind of understanding who they are and what's going on, and then we see a little bit of how it impacts Ellie at the end of the book. And yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I read The Island by this author years ago, probably 15 years ago since I've read that book, and I remember really enjoying it then. And I'm definitely going to have a look at some of their other works because I really enjoyed how this was written. It was emotional, it was interesting, it was cleverly woven together. The descriptions of food and of Greece were really vivid, made me want to go desperately. And yeah, I just thought this was a good time. So that was another 4 star. Then I picked up The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden, which was for my prompt. This was for self-care, so the middle of the board, because I thought this was going to be 5 stars, and I think that is the ultimate self-care as a bookish person, is to pick up a book that you think is going to be a perfect read. I gave this 4.5, so it got pretty close, and this recently won the Women's Prize for Fiction. I'm fairly certain in that. I think it won the Women's Prize. It's shortlisted for the Booker as well, so it's been everywhere. And I've got this beautiful hardback copy that I got again in the Waterstones January sale. I've got quite a few books in the January sale this year. And this is set in, where are we? Why have I forgotten where we're set? We're in a rural Dutch province, and I won't try and say it because I will get that definitely wrong. And we are following a woman called Isabel, who is living in the family home. Her mother has died a few years previously. She's got 2 grown-up brothers. Technically the house belongs to her oldest brother, but she lives there by herself, and she lives this very secluded life. And then one day her brother rocks up and says, my girlfriend is going to stay here with you whilst I go for a work thing. I'll be gone for a couple of months, and she needs to stay here with you over the summer. And so she's left with this girl, Eve. Is it Eve or Eva? Eva. And they are left in this house together, and Isabel does not want her there. Now this is post-war as well, sort of 1960 something, and things slowly unravel between the 2 women over a very hot summer, and it's also part of Dutch history that I didn't know anything about, and feels particularly relevant at the moment is all I would say. I don't want to give away what's happening. I would say that this cover is one that once you know what is happening makes so much sense. And yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars. I couldn't give it 5 stars. I didn't have an emotional response to it, and I found the middle bit slightly slow, but it's a very short one. It's 262 pages, so it didn't take me, obviously I've read this in a day. I've read all of these pretty much in a day, given that I'm doing a 31 but there's this very kind of slow unraveling, and you kind of realise what's going on. So yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars. It's very, very cleverly written, very sharply written. This is the author's debut, which is just ridiculous that somebody could be this skilled already. I will look for more from the author. I'm sure we'll see lots more from them. And yeah, if you've been looking at this and considering it, I would recommend you pick it up. It is literary fiction, but it's short literary fiction, and it's definitely one that I will be thinking about. It's also currently my highest rated read of the month. Then, so we've got 3 more to go because I have been reading like crazy. Then I picked up A Roomful of Bones by Ellie Griffiths. This is a Dr. Ruth Galloway mystery. This was in my advent calendar, and I picked this up for Emily's prompt, which is mystery or thriller. This is book 4 in the series. However, I read this without too much trouble, and thankfully I noticed this at the start, but there is at the back this little section of who's who, and it gives you a bit of information about each character, so you kind of know who the key players are before you go in. So if you are picking these up, because they can be read as standalone as I've done, I would look for that at the back because it was really helpful. So we are following obviously Ruth, who is an archaeologist, and she gets called in because they have exhumed a coffin of a bishop from like the medieval times, and they're going to open it to have a look at the bones inside, and she's obviously an archaeologist, so she gets called to the museum to be there at the opening of this coffin. However, when she turns up, the curator of the museum is dead next to the coffin, and we are following the police as they try and work out what's going on, basically. And yeah, I gave this 3 stars. This was okay. I feel like this isn't particularly memorable. I think for me, a sign of a good book in a series is, do I want to go back and read the first one? Not especially. Like if I saw it in a charity shop, then I might pick it up, but I wouldn't rush to buy it. The characters were well drawn. Obviously in 4 books in, they're fairly well established. I like the dynamic between Ruth and some of the other characters. The mystery was good. I wouldn't say it was the best, and some of the twists and turns I thought were kind of obvious, but that might just be me. So yeah, it was a solid read. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't dislike it. There was nothing bad about it exactly. There were a few, and this book was published in 2012, I think. Yeah, 2012. There are a few references towards Ruth's body that are a bit fat shamey. There are also some words and use of words that we probably wouldn't in 2025, but given that it's over 10 years old, I would kind of excuse that. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. To me, it wasn't anything special. I didn't hate it. It was just, to quote Eva from Pretty Purple Polka Dots, it was a book, and I read it. Then I picked up Why She Wrote by Lauren Burke and Hannah K. Chapman, and illustrated by Kaylee Bales. This was for my Gavin prompt, which is graphic novel or manga. This is a graphic novel. Charlotte gave me this for Christmas. And the subtitle says, A Graphic History of the Lives, Inspiration and Influence Behind the Pens of Classic Women Writers. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's non-fiction, and it's about 18 different female writers and their inspiration and what drove them to write. And it's split into 6 sections or 6 chapters. So we have the horror of the everyday, finding their voice, activism as art, private lives, public identities, protection and profit. And it's including writers such as Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, Anne Radcliffe, Charlotte Bronte, Frances Burney, Jane Austen, Elizabeth Gaskell, Mary Wollstonecraft. I might as well just tell you all these now, but halfway through. Frances E.W. Harper, Alice Dunbar Nelson, Anne Lister, Emily Bronte, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Edith Maud Eaton, Mary Ann Evans, also known as George Eliot, Anne Bronte, Beatrice Potter, Frances Hodgson Burnett and Louisa May Alcott. And yeah, I enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. Did I particularly learn anything new? Not really, but then I know a fair amount about these women anyway, or most of them, and their kind of time periods they're writing in. Sorry, the ribbon does not want to go back inside the book. There we go. But it was interesting. It was really well illustrated. I'll give you an idea of the art styles. Looks like that. And yeah, this is going to go into my school library. You'll see this in an on-haul soon, because this is perfect for the school library. This is exactly the kind of thing I want lots of my kids to be reading. So yeah, thank you for that, Charlotte. Really enjoyed that one. And then yesterday I sat and read Her Last Holiday by C.L. Taylor. I read this for Backlist Book, which is Gloria's prompt. Because I've read a few C.L. Taylors, and this was an older one of hers, and this was also part of my, was this part of the advent calendar? Yes, because I've got my little tab in there. And as it says on the front, 1 retreat, 3 victims, no escape. And we're following Fran, whose sister Jenna disappeared 2 years previously on a wellness retreat, and she's trying to work out basically what happened to her sister. And at the start of the book, the man who was in charge of the retreat has just been released from prison. He's been in prison because of two other people that died on that retreat, but he's never taken any responsibility for Jenna's death. And so Fran tries to get closer to him by attending his new retreat to try and find out what happened to her sister, and we follow the story. I gave this 3 stars. This trotted along really well. I enjoyed this. I always enjoy C.L. Taylor's writing. They tend to be between 3 and 4 stars for me. Kind of enjoyable, but nothing like life-changing. And this was the same. I thought I'd solved it. I said to Gary at a certain point, I was like, I think I've solved it, and I hadn't. Enjoyed that. And yeah, 3 stars. There's not loads to say. It was a solid read. And those are the books. So I also came home to a parcel. I know exactly what this is, from Waterstones, and I'm very excited. So let's open this. Because it's a pre-order. It's a book I've already read. This is definitely a shelf trophy. But that's okay, because I have my grown-up money. Oh, yes. Do you know what it is yet? Right, okay. Let's get this out. She is upside down. Alchemy and a Cup of Tea by Rebecca Thorne. Oh, those edges are so pretty. I love that purple. And then the crown and the cup of tea. And then it's signed. Do we have anything on the hardback? I don't think they do. I think they're just quite plain and simple hardbacks. But they do have the number of the book on, which we love. I love this book. I read it last month. I will leave July's vlog underneath if you want to see my thoughts on this, but this is the 4th and final book in the Tomes and Tea series, and I'm very happy to have this beautiful sprayed edition to proudly display on my bookshelf. Okay, so that's the catch up. Tomorrow, which you'll see next week when the next half of this vlog goes up, we are celebrating mine and the mother-in-law's birthday. Hers is on Monday, mine's at the end of the month. So yeah, we're getting together to have cake and sandwiches and things together. And then next week I've got appointments and stuff to do, and then the following week's got my birthday in it. So yeah, all this is trotting along nicely. Oh, I've got hiccups now. All of my going away is now done, as far as I know. And I'm ready to kind of just settle in and be at home for the last 2 weeks of the holiday. I've got loads to do. My to-do list is crazy long, but at least I can do it at my own pace. If you got to this point in the video, just to let me know that you're here, leave me some sort of like summer holiday emoji, like the beach umbrella or a cocktail or the waves of the sea, something kind of a beach holiday-ish. I'm going to leave you with a clip that I took yesterday of the sunset. I did a time lapse and I thought that'd be nice to put in at the end of this video. Like I said, the second part will be up a week today from when you're watching this or when this goes up. Please subscribe if you would like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.